Hello, everybody. It's Chantel. Welcome. It's good to see everybody. And today we're going to be doing igniting and aligning one's energy in giving and receiving reflexology. So, in organizing and creating this class, I thought, what the heck kind of title is this? It's a very long title. So I thought, I'm going to begin by just kind of breaking down this title for us, because I think it's going to help us maybe assimilate what we're about to go into. Okay. So, igniting and aligning one's energy in giving and receiving reflexology. So, igniting one's energy. And welcome, Donna and Bev. I'm just going to go ahead and mute you. So, igniting one's energy. So when I think about igniting my energy, what does that mean? To ignite, am I igniting something within? Am I igniting something without, something outside myself? If I'm igniting, am I first harnessing, right? Am I bringing something up or in order for it to be brought out or experienced in an outward way so that I could best serve my clients and myself in giving and receiving? So that's what I think of when I think of igniting. Aligning my energy, I think of the word with, right? Aligning with. It has to be with something. So then it becomes, and I encourage you to think about this too now, because we'll have time to open it up and really share. So aligning my energy with. The three things that came to mind for me were I can align it with spirit. I could align it with spirit. I could align it with myself, maybe my true self. I could align it with the greatest good, right? The greatest good for all. So if we were to break those down, aligning with spirit, this is something I do a lot with my long distance Reiki reading kind of work, right? I want to be very, very open. My heart is very open, and I want to be a clear channel for whatever. For me, it would be loving Reiki energy to flow through, right? So that I may be a clear channel to hear, to see, to feel, and to get whatever messages need to be brought in and out through me. If it's aligning with my true self, this is like a lifelong process. Who am I? What is my true self? And a quote came to mind. There's a writer, some of you may have heard of him, named Hermann Hesse. He wrote Siddhartha. He also wrote a book called Damien. And at the very start of the book, Damien, there's like two sentences before the chapters begin, before the story begins. And the quote is, I wanted only to live in accordance with the promptings which came from my true self. Why was that so very difficult? So, again, I wanted only to live in accordance with the promptings which came from my true self. Why was that so very difficult? For me, this is something I'm admitting at the same time as I'm talking. I'm multitasking here. Why is it so difficult to tap in or to get to know who I really am, like on a soul level, right? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just going to go ahead and mute you. So just holding that as well, right? So if I could align with spirit, I could align with my true self. And if I am doing that, how do I get access to that? How do I get to know who I really am so that I could be the best practitioner I could be, so that I could be the best daughter I could be, so that I could be the best friend I could be, etc. Right? And then finally, aligning with the greatest good. And I like this one a lot because so much of my work, whether it's energetic work in my Reiki practice or if it's with reflexology, one of the things that I like to say in Reiki in particular is you can start it with providing us both with all the protection we need, certainly, but that the secondary part of this sentence is, may this be for my greatest good, for their greatest good, and for the greatest good of all. And this really, really takes me out of the picture, right? Because so much of my life is about trying to obtain or have control or to figure it out. So in this way, I'm admitting that I don't know what's best Sometimes I really don't know what's best for me. Definitely not for my client. How could I possibly know? If anything, they know what's best for them, right? And I get to be a facilitator to help them realize what that is for themselves, right? So they feel empowered to come to their true self. So when we say something like, may this be for, my greatest good, my client's greatest good, and the greatest good of all, then it kind of just lets whatever is supposed to unfold, and trusting, a lot of trusting and acceptance in what is about to unfold, that it is for the greatest good. And how could that not be? Right? Instead of being like, well, this is the thing that's wrong with somebody. This is what we got to fix. That's why they're here. And I'm going to help them on that process and we're going to fix it together. Instead, I make my energy much softer, right? I'm not hard and trying to change something. I'm softening my energy and allowing what is supposed to unfold to unfold. So that's the first part of the sentence. That's the first part of our title. Aligning and igniting. The second half of the title is in giving and receiving reflexology. So when I was thinking about, oh boy, did I make like the wrong title? Like this could be two classes, right? Because giving and receiving can be so different. And then the more I sat with it, the more I realized that I don't think that's the case. I think we can, it's streamlined. I don't know if that's the terminology I want, but when I give and I receive, there is actually something that is true in both cases. And so it means that there's not different tenets, there's not different principles, there's not even necessarily different methods. So what I do in my practice, what I do when I receive and when I give is and a lot of you have been in my classes, so I teach the no mind approach. So we empty out. So I release what I think that I know. I release even what the client says, what they've told me is wrong with them. I release what I think about myself, about everything. I imagine nothingness. And then, and only then, if I can achieve that nothingness, that empty place where no thought exists, I begin to add. So if you've taken my, and some of you have taken the Reflexology for Trauma and Addiction class, the in-person class, we do this. We learn how to really empty out and to just be aligned with our client without doing anything. Later, what we learn how to do is to add, and we mustn't add too soon, right? So in adding, we can learn to add color, add sensation, add joy, add imagery, right? It could be cells dancing, breath swirling, blood flowing easily, right? So then it becomes a practice of I'm seeing somebody in perfect health, right? And there is an alignment of mind, body, and spirit with them, right? And this becomes actually like emotions and sensations, right? So you could even envision laughter, joy, calm, perfection, right? If that makes sense. And the last part of this title is in reflexology. So very specific. A lot of you are reflexologists, but sorry, I'm just muting you guys. A lot of you are reflexologists, but some of you are not. And some of you might not even be in wellness, but it's transferable. We can do it when we're giving reflexology. We can do it when we're receiving reflexology, and we can have this practice of igniting and aligning with ourselves, with spirit, and with the world in a way that that it can affect many different facets of our life. Okay. Another element that we'll think about today is I use this idea of, how do you even say it? Like, I don't use energy, or I don't allow energy, or let energy. Like, what is it if I'm interacting with energy? The word that feels the most true for me is, so far, and it can change, the one that is most true is sense. I sense energy, and I sense energy move. So I'm not allowing energy to move through me. I'm not using energy. I'm not letting it. That's too much control for me. I'm going to sense it, right? I'm going to be present for it. right? So I allow. See, I even want to do that terminology. Don't. I sense it. I sense it. I feel it. It is there. It's a thing. So it's a combination of, well, it's a combination of a number of things. Most notably, it's going to be emptying the mind and letting go. And this will be part of our work today. So I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to add one more little tidbit of something that was in the description for this class. And then I want to start diving in and opening it up a little bit as we go into what this means for us in our practice. So I mentioned in the class description that we would look at misconceptions of what reflexology is and confirm how and why it's not massage and it's not energy work. And so that's where we're going to do that first, and then we'll go back into energy. Okay. So some of you may know of, well, yeah, Google. There's this thing called Google, and or any search engine you might use. And if you type in reflexology, there's information that comes up, and there's a lot of misinformation that comes up. So there are still people that define reflexology, and it's totally fine. But I want to break it down for how I perceive it today, and then we can open it up too. I want to know how you perceive it too. How I perceive reflexology, you can find on the internet that people relate it to energy pathways. People relate it to that it's work that involves some kind of energetic practice, or even it's an energetic or an energy modality. For me, this is a misconception, much like reflexology is a foot massage, right? It's manipulating tissue. For this, it doesn't make sense. By default, because I'm using my fingers on feet or hands or ears, and I'm using them in a certain gesture, perhaps someone might say I'm manipulating the tissue, but that's not my intent. So it misses the mark. So reflexology to me is I am working with sensory receptors. We call them reflexology points, but technically, scientifically, in the medical field, they're receptors. That's how the body receives information from the outside. So reflexology is a practice that places the client's nervous system at the center of the experience. And this is how we experience everything. So as a reflexologist, our tactile input, our touch, our hands on someone's feet, hands or ears, send a message via the client's central nervous system, their spinal cord and their brain, for processing. Right? It is doing this in part, and most importantly, its primary purpose for sure, is to determine if our touch is safe, if we're dangerous, if this is painful, is it soft? It is to determine if that client is safe, because we are hardwired for survival. So our tactile input, that is the first thing that has to be initiated and figured out. So the client is able to receive the input, and then their central nervous system, their CNS, central nervous system, begins to fire. And then it sends signals to the various parts of the body, right? So it determines first, okay, I'm safe, I'm not in danger. And now it's going to send messages because it's received the message, it's processed it, it's figured out, okay, I'm safe. Now I'm going to send some sensory responses to organs, glands, systems, areas, external structures, etc. Everything, every single part of the body, every cell, every tissue, everything, every neuron, everything, every single part of the body. So I like to think of it like it's like a conversation. It's a conversation, not a conversation that says I'm pressing and I'm pressing hard because it's good for you. It's not that type of conversation, right? That conversation goes to the brain, and the brain's going to send a motor response, especially if I'm like digging in there and I'm like trying to fix my client, right? I go too deep, and I'm working with a type of receptor that detects pain. And then my mind is like, I'm going to send a motor response, and I'm going to pull away from that tactile input. That doesn't feel safe to me. Okay. So as a practitioner, I must really, really listen to the tissue, just like I would listen to a friend. I'm very present, right? I want to be a good friend. Okay. So if I'm pressing just deep enough to talk to the receptors that detect pain, but those that don't detect pain, but those that allow for, in this analogy, an easeful conversation with one's nervous system, this conversation begins at the feet. It makes a journey via the spinal cord, then to the brain, and then travels to the corresponding area of the body that we are pressing on, not in the feet, but in the actual part of the body, the literal part of the body. So that conversation becomes like, it's almost like an invitation, right? I press the gallbladder reflexology point. The message is sent spinal cord brain. The brain is like, this is good. She's safe. Lightning speed. I'm going to send the message back, a relaxation response for the gallbladder, not the reflexology point, the gallbladder in the body, to have greater blood flow and to therefore relax, right? So the route, the highway that I'm on, I am pressing on that part of the liver, a little part of the liver, say, right? Spinal cord brain, and that part of the actual liver gets to relax. So it's not interacting back with the foot as would happen with a motor response. And that's every part of the body. Another example would be a shoulder, the right reflexology, the right shoulder. Say someone has a right shoulder issue going on, and I'm in the reflexology point for the right shoulder in the foot. If I'm pressing just deep enough, not too deep, it's going to go spinal cord brain, right shoulder relax. So relaxation response is sent. And then to drive this home, again, these are receptors. So this is somatosensation is what it's referred to, right? Somatosensory receptors. So that's SOMATO sensation, right? Or somatosensory receptors. And there are 5 different types. And some of them relate, some of them don't. Mechanoreceptors, they detect, and I'll put this in our group too, so that you have these. It feels like it's going off topic, but it's not, because I think it's really important that we understand what reflexology is in and of itself. And then we get to really look at how we're going to bring an energy to this work that is very tactile, right? It isn't energy work, especially when we're looking at it from the level of the sensory receptors. So the mechanoreceptors detect external sensation, external stimuli, especially touch, but also anything from the environment, sounds too, all external stuff. Those are mechanoreceptors. And I'll write this down in our group too. The next ones, there's also thermoreceptors, right? It detects temperature. Another one is proprioceptors. Say that 10 times fast. They detect movement, right? Positioning. This is a lot having to do with our joints, our muscles, our tendons, right? The next one would be pain receptors. Some of you know these are also called nociceptors. They detect pain. Those are nociceptors, pain receptors. We don't want to be talking to those. That's not the conversation we want at all. And finally, we have chemoreceptors, and these detect change at the level of the cardiovascular and the circulatory systems. So anything ever related to blood and oxygen. So like I said, that was a little bit of digression, but in preparing for this class, I felt that it was important, because I really think in many ways, especially whether we're talking to clients or students or ourselves, it is very important that we continue to recognize what is it that we're actually doing? How are we interacting with this body? What are we actually doing, right? When we are applying pressure, when we have this tactile input. And then the more clear we are, the better we can be clear about our work, and that it's not energy work, right? When we're dealing with receptors that communicate messages. All right. So I would like to just open it up really quick before we get into the aligning and the igniting and some tools we have today. Are there any questions? You could add them via the chat, or insights or ideas you have about anything I've said so far, or anything that comes to mind before we go on. I could just see one of your faces. All of you are at the top, but I could see one. All right. So far, so good. Is it clear? Is it making sense? Yeah? Okay. Good, good, good. Yay. It's good to see your faces. Okay. All right. So now let's go into how to align oneself to self, spirit, whatever you're going to align yourself with as you prefer, how I align. So some of you know I give reflexology and Reiki, and what I do is I ask the client how they are, what's going on, how's your heart, how's your insides, what's like, give me the lowdown, give me the monologue. I want to know how they are mind, body, spirit. And then after they give me the monologue, and oftentimes it happens just that, like, what's wrong, right? What's wrong with them? What's their diagnoses? What are their feelings around certain people and events, right, that are disturbing their lives? And I listen to everything, just like I'm about to listen to their tissue. I listen with my full body. I am 100% there. I listen to everything. I'm going to add, I just, I found something yesterday. I don't know if any of you know Dr. Gladys McGarry. Has anybody heard of her before? Any nods? I'm gonna pass it on to you guys. It's she's 103 years old, and she was talking about life and the 5 L's. And her 5 L's are life, love, laughter, labor, and listening. And she says they're all very, very important, but they all are only like, you could do labor, you could have laughter, you could have life, you can listen, but they're only really valuable when they're infused with love. So I'll share that video on our Facebook group. And if anybody, before we end today, if anybody's not in that group, let me know and I'll find a way to get that to you. It's really special. So I really align, right? In the session, I really align, I really listen. I make it so my glass is really full with everything that they said. And then in this session, I let it all go. I let everything go. I empty out. I see them as like a perfect body, a perfect soul. I give reflexology to this perfect, disease-free, symptom-free, magnificent person. I communicate with the cells on this level, right? I only communicate with the perfection that resides within. So for that hour in time, we're both perfect. We're both aligned and everything is good. And I can even, if you've been with somebody for a while, you could even invite them into that process. That becomes really fun too, because we go around so much thinking about what's wrong with us or what could be better, or if only I had X, then Z would be so much. So we get to like let all of that go. So it can become a really special experience if we involve them in the process, if they seem to be someone who would be hip to that. So how to empty the mind, or what I would call a soul state. This is really similar to my no mind approach, right? But it's a singular tool, getting to a soul state. So what I do, and this is your first tool today, is I take both my hands, both my palms. If you've done Reiki, this is synonymous with a universal Reiki position, which is one hand at the heart and one hand at the solar plexus. So my palm is at my center of my heart, and my other palm is on my solar plexus. I call this the soul spot. My solar plexus is my soul spot. You can simply just hold it here. But oftentimes I find that my soul spot, my solar plexus, is really tight. It's been tight for a long time in my life. So it needs nurturing and a little tending to most of the time. So I can hold it there, but I could also, it's a plexus, right? That's a nerve center. There's a whole bundle of a lot going on in there. I can just with my one hand, or I like to do it. So this hand, I put one hand on top, and with the base of my palm right down here, we call this a thenar eminence, right? This area is really nice. It's mushy, but it's a little bit more, it has that firmness. You can literally use that area with one hand on top to just gently, gently push down that area. So where the solar plexus is, and you could try it now, I'm holding it there. I'm breathing as easily as I can. And I just push it down. Because oftentimes with tension, there could be holding at a center, or it could be almost like a holding and a pushing up, right? So we're trying to like calm and bring down. So we're stroking it gently towards the earth, right? So this nerve center has a lot to do, especially if you're looking at it from a chakra level, would have a lot to do with collapse, right? Somebody hunched over It would have a lot to do with fear, self-worth. So being with it, my stomach just gurgled. This will happen too. There's also that connective piece, right? There's the esophagus, and then there's the sphincter that goes into the stomach, right? That valve. So that sphincter often opens up and does the acid reflux thing. There's a lot going on there. So to literally be able to just push it down gently can help to calm that hydrochloric acid, which may be trying to push up. And so we could just be here for a minute and see. I'll stop talking for a moment. Just see, what is the sensation like? Is it tight? Is it painful? What does it feel like? And then you could end with just holding both your hands like that, right? Over that solar plexus region, lowering your gaze or closing your eyes. I like always to imagine I'm being unplugged, like from my back body. I'm just like, someone just unplugs me. And I'm like, okay, it's time to shut down. Or you could bring it back to universal position and have one on your heart, one on your solar plexus. And then you just breathe and space out. I like to say there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to be, there's nobody to be, nothing to do, nowhere to go, nobody to be, nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to be, just here, just here. Yeah, it could be exhausting because we go so much. Okay, next, if we want to ignite, charge up, right? Harness energy. The most obvious one would be rubbing of the hands, right? So a lot of you already know this. You're just bringing your palms together and rubbing, rubbing, rubbing until you generate heat. Another thing I like to do, you could do that first, and or you take those same palms and you do like a pulsing action towards the earth. Now, generally it wouldn't be at this high, but just to show you, it'd be more towards my sides, like at the level of my waist. I take those hands and I just pulse, pulse, pulse. And I'm doing a gesture like that. So this, and it's incredible, right? It's coming back to the solar plexus. The solar plexus reflexology point is right at the center here. So I'm actually gathering it in, pulsating it down, gather, pulse. So it's almost like an undulating wave, and then it's going at the same time, pulse, pulse. And I'm igniting and charging up my personal power, my solar plexus, my belief in self, right? That is not collapse, that is present and honest and here, right? So I'm charging that up. You could do that, but at the level of your waist on your sides to the earth. You could do it standing or sitting. Standing is really nice because then you could also focus on your feet. Another way of coming in is think about a flamenco clap. If you've ever seen or done a flamenco clap, what you do is you clap like this. It's not like this, it's like this, right? So you go to this side, and then there's like this little twist where you relax your fingers and you twist. So you're going clap, twist, clap, twist, clap, twist, clap, twist. So with so the point I'm making, and it doesn't actually even need to be flamenco per se, but rhythm in general ignites, right? Rhythm brings forth. So we see this in stomping too. There are cultures that stomp, right, to awaken. There are some that do it to awaken spirit, right? There are some that do it to ground down into the earth. There are some that do it to honor the earth, right? But this stomping down is a very grounding gesture that can also charge up or ignite something you're trying to call forth. So you do it with your hands, you could do it with your feet. You could always do this first as well. And another way to do it would just be through hands together in prayer. So in Reiki, we call it Gasho. In Mudra therapy, we call it Anjali. And you hold it at the level of your heart. What I like to do, because for me, igniting has a lot to do with rhythm and tempo. So for me, you can just do this, but I like to, when I'm here, collapse a little bit into my heart and into that prayer position. And I kind of contract my chest and then I open up my heart. I tilt my head back. My palms go out to the world in front of me. And I open up here. I come down. It's almost like a contraction. It's not a collapse. So I contract and I open, contract, and open. This in and of itself is also opening up your heart center. You can do this on the ground too with certain other kind of maybe yogic techniques. But for me, I like to stand or sit. And it also, especially if like you're in your office for the day, just doing something that kind of opens up that heart energy and is charging up your hands as well is really good. You could also do this with breath. Breath is another way to ignite or charge up. So right there, I would love to hear what you think. What do you do when you want to ignite energy, when you want to charge up? And I will say, because some of you weren't, you came on a little bit late, we're recording this. We're going to put it on our Facebook group. We're going to put it on YouTube. So if you don't want to be seen, that's totally fine. Just put it in the chat. But you're also welcome to say something and to be part of it too. So what do you do to ignite or charge up your energy in life or in session? What do you do?
I like to make a chi bubble,
Ooh.
and then like I start here and with my breathing, try to feel the chi starting to build between my hands. And when I get a big, vibrant ball of chi between my hands, I take it and I just pour it down over myself. And I think of pouring it down over the whole world.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Leslie. Right. That's beautiful. Right. So you envision this ball.
Mhm.
And do you also have a little bit of a pulsing, or how do you do it when you're?
Oh, you can start to feel it in there as you breathe. You'll just start to feel something wants to push your hands apart. And it's the chi that's building up between your hands.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And I almost thought of honey. When you brought your hands up here, I just envisioned like honey just dripping all over. Like it's like honey chi. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Leslie. Beautiful. Who else? What else do you do to ignite or charge up? And you could just unmute and talk whenever you want.
I find that I'm definitely sitting back and breathing into my solar plexus and down so that there's this level of, I can really feel um, being connected. And now I'm also getting the pineal gland involved too. So it's almost like this happens and then everything starts to open up, which is very, very cool. Yeah. It
Ooh,
just all gets activated, but it's through breath. Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, so it's so through your breath, do you feel yourself? Are you breathing at the level of the solar plexus or lower?
Yeah. Yeah, even lower. So it's like I'm really being, and I'm not even doing it consciously. So I can feel, and I do sessions oftentimes barefoot. So I'm really getting grounded. That's the way, but I'm a barefoot kind of gal anyway. So it's just like I'm there so that I can pull up the energy and just be like hooked in. And I do it, I didn't even think about it until you said something because it's just kind of natural.
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. This is why I love this time together. We need each other. Yeah, beautiful. And I like that you mentioned the pineal gland too, right? For those of you who don't know, I mean, pineal gland on a very like as physiologically is the gland that's, producing melatonin, helping us sleep, blah, blah, blah. But also, right, third eye. That's what you're talking about, right? That opening. Beautiful, Lori. I love it. All right, who else? Anybody else thinking about how they ignite before a session or during a session? All right.
Um,
Yeah.
I like, oh,
Hi. Hi, Donna.
if I'm standing, I take a deep breath in, and as I take that deep breath in, come from the earth energy, bring it all the way up and envision it all the way up, and then over the crown of my head as it drips down the back of my neck, over the shoulders, down the back, posterior side, bring it all the way up, breathing in, and on the exhale, release all the way down the back. And that's a really grounding, protection kind of tool to use in reference to that. And you can also do that in the opposite way. That you could do that in the beginning of the morning, and just breathe in, and then you can do that on the opposite way, to like before you go to bed. So release and just let go of everything.
Stunning.
So
beautiful. Thank you, Donna. That's wonderful. Yeah, I love it. I see a couple of us were trying it, right? Like that. I love it. I've always, in Qigong, we do this where we bring it up just to like our waist or our heart, and then we bring it back down. But wow, all the way up and then back body to the ground. And I love that idea of, it's kind of like there's a chakra. Some of you guys know the chakra meditation we do when we open our chakras, envision them like lotuses. You guys, some of you know this, right? We just open them, we open each one like just flowering. And I really love that idea that we have to close them down too. There are times to close down. And I love that you said at night, you can close down in this opposite direction. That's beautiful, Donna.
thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else have something that comes to mind that they do or want to share? Awesome possum. Okay. So, next. Okay. Next, another thing I brought up that I wanted to talk about was increasing or extending. Ooh, somebody just said, oh, hi. Thank you. I have to drop off. I will catch the recording. Sounds good. I'll see you later. So the next thing would be, how to increase or extend our auric field. So I'm going to read from my book. This is from my Reiki book. And the chapter on the aura is page 45. Okay. So you there you are. Okay. So yeah, the aura. A lot of you guys already know this stuff, but the aura is the energy field around somebody's physical body. And it is a field that can be felt especially well between your fingers and hands. Our aura generally extends anywhere from a few inches to 2 to 3 feet around the entire circumference. That includes below our feet, above our head, entire circumference of our physical body. A person's aura can give insights into their health, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. Developing your ability to read auras can help you gather more information about someone's state of health. And then it goes into some exercises. So I'm going to read one other thing about the etymology of the actual aura. And this is from the aura class that Lori was in. A couple of you were in our aura class. So this is in our PDF. The etymology of the word aura is of Greek and Latin origin, meaning breeze or breath. The word is also associated with atmosphere. So this is really, I love thinking of it like this, instead of just like, oh yeah, there's these auric fields, their colors are like chakras that extend like layers, and there are different layers that actually have names, right? There are 7 layers, there's actually more, but there's the mental, the emotional, the astral, the etheric, there's different ways to perceive it, but it's not just that, it's included with breath, which makes me think somebody brought up a documentary that is in a documentary festival right now, actually in San Rafael, that's called 500 Days in the Wild. And I haven't seen it yet. I can't speak about it. I watched a trailer because a client actually brought it up. She goes, it was amazing. There's a point where this documentarian, she says she's going to go on this long journey through Canada, more than 500 days in the wild. And she's looking at the water and she goes, ooh, she's breathing. This idea that breath, and I like to think of this too, our little reflexology map is just one version, like a Mandelbrot set of something else, something else, something else, right? So that foot is like the whole body, is like 10 people in a room? Is the room, is the city, is the town, is the state, is the country? Like, so this idea that everything breathes is a really powerful one for me. So with auric work, one of the best things we could do is what is called aura beaming. So with aura beaming, you can do it with your hands, with your fingers, with your palms. You could also do it with your eyes. You could just you could see it, like almost. I do this a lot at an end of a session, is I literally, with my hands and with my eyes, I see their aura getting bigger and bitter, bigger and bigger, bitter and bitter, bigger and bigger. I can do that with my eyes. I could also do it in my mind's eye. So I could even do it closed and envisioning it in this way. And the more we do it, the more we become versed at seeing where it actually is and where it's not, where there needs to be more extension. So when doing it, you need only use your palms. You could try it right here. You could try it kind of like what Leslie was doing, right? In this, like the ball that you're envisioning growing. You could do it with an object, but you could also just do it with yourself. Like if you're sitting right now, you're the lower half of your body in the seat, you could just kind of like with your palms and with your fingers, envision the area around your knee, right? Or your thigh. And how far, where do you feel your energy end or begin? And then just begin to extend and lengthen and color and move, right? Because ultimately, the bigger that energy field is, and again, this is what I think Leslie just said, right? It can be protective too, right? Those kind of spheres that we put around ourselves. So go ahead and just try that for a moment now. And if you're drawn, I was just drawn to my heart. If there's an area of the body that there's a call for attention, for there to be an extension or an extending, you can change where you are. Good. And then you can just try this more on your own, but just for the sake of time, just envision very quickly doing it around your entire body, right? So you're doing it at the top of your head, that back area behind your skull, shoulders, heart, all the way down to the floor and below. And finally, how to provide reflexology while expanding one's energy fields within and without. So, it has, for me, it has everything to do with this no mind and entering a soul state. So how I provide, we begin at the end, our beginning is how we end. How I provide reflexology has everything to do with letting go of what I think I know and letting go of who I think you are and everything you've said and getting in touch with my soul and who you really are, your soul. So that means I have to be in my back body. The back body is the term I use to enter my heart, envision the back, literal back of my body, my back, my lower back, my butt, my hamstrings, the literal back of my body. And I envision meeting it, that my soul, my insides is meeting my back body. The back body on other kind of more metaphysical levels has everything to do with our history, where we come from, being okay with where I come from, with my history, and being able to sit in it with ease and to be able to work from that place. I know where I came from, I know who I am, and I'm going to be here for you and where you are. You can also, even with your eyes, kind of just envision them softening and settling back into their sockets. So back body is the opposite of leaning forward and tending to our clients and trying to help them and make sure that they know how much we care. Instead, we trust, we accept, and we allow, and we just enter that back body from where we are. And that makes us a better listener too, because there's nothing coming outside of ourselves that is coming into their energy field and disrupting their sense of needing to express. When we enter our back body, they can come out a little bit more and feel more comfortable sharing because we're not coming out into their field, if that makes sense. So you can do that, enter your back body, right? Another thing you can do is something you could do pre-session, which is kind of like that auric beaming or even cleansing in a way, but you can sculpt the place around you, the places around you and the space around you. And you could do it for yourself and for the room. And again, you empty out first. You really envision that you are completely empty. Everything in the room is empty. And then you begin to fill it with color, with light, with that which you want to bring forth in the session. And then finally, in receiving, I think about, and then I want to open it up again and get your perceptions about how you give and receive and what you do. So for me in receiving, it's really important that I truly receive, right? That I really take care, and that I don't try to take care of the practitioner, which means a lot of times, and in the past, I had to actually tell myself, don't talk, don't say anything, because the practitioner would come in and I'd be like, can I help you? Would you like some water? Oh, maybe you'd be more comfortable. Would you like me to turn on the fan? There's none of that. If I'm going to receive, I am receiving. The practitioner will let me know if they need anything, right? So sometimes I say to my clients, especially at True North, because I come into their rooms, they're going through a process there, usually with fasting. And I say at the beginning of their session, I say, we're going to say hello and goodbye now. I'm going to leave quietly at the end of your session so you don't feel like you have to say goodbye. And the reason why I started to say this, I don't say it with everybody, but it's with a certain type of energy, is after a session, there can be people that really want to be like, thank you so much. Oh my God. And they come outside of themselves when the best part of the session is at the end, when someone leaves, that we just cocoon and stay and continue to receive and spiral inward. So if I can necessitate an area of, and helping the client know that they don't have to do anything, that actually what they can do is just be with themselves, and I'll see them later. We'll say hi, bye now, and I'll see you later in a couple days. You'll be on campus, right? Then they really, and it's so great. I like tiptoe out of the room and they're just like, even if they're awake, they're like, and then they go over onto their side. They're not taking care of me at all. What a beautiful thing to look at somebody taking care of themselves. Anyway, I want to end there. And I want to know about you. We're going to end on time today. We're going to end before the hour. So I would love to just hear what you do in giving and receiving, how you make space for that with your clients, anything actually. How do you ignite if something else came to mind? How do you align? How do you receive? What helps you receive good? Is there something you could do? And in giving, what do you do that you find is really helpful that you might want to share with the group today? And just unmute and talk whenever you want. Or chat, you could write as well. All right, what we're going to do, let's all close our eyes or lower our gaze. And I want you to remember the last time you were giving to somebody. It doesn't even have to be in reflexology. Last time you gifted somebody something. And I want you to feel into what you did and what that felt like. What was the whole experience like energetically when you were giving this thing? So try to come up with the last time I gave to somebody, what was I doing? And once you have it, I want you to tap into your inner body and identify for yourself where in your body you're feeling the most charge or the most energy. Where is it? And let that go. And now think about the last time you received something. Somebody gave you something, gave you a session, gave you a gift, gave you a smile. And go ahead and remember that and feel into that experience. And notice what's happening to your body now as you remember. Notice your breath. And is there somewhere in your body that you feel this? Good, and go ahead and let that go. All right. I see some smiles still on faces. I had a little chuckle even on one of them. Someone made me laugh. All right, we're going to close. Does anybody have anything they wish to share? It could also be just about that last experience of what you felt in your body when you were remembering, giving, or receiving, or anything about this class you want to remember or say aloud, or maybe something that wasn't said that you thought that could be a thing. Is there anything you want to share? All right. How do you feel? I'm going to just look at your faces. It's still on just me, but I'm looking at your faces. How do you feel? I see some smiles. I feel some. I love your background, Christy. I love your background, Beth. How you guys doing? Just give me a thumbs up or like, yeah, I get it, or yeah, it feel good. Does it make sense? Some stuff makes sense. All right. All right, we're going to close then, and we'll put this video up as we always do so people can watch later. Thank you. Thank you. Peace and calm. Yeah, peace and calm. Thank you. Oh, and thank you, Donna. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Sharon.
Chantel, my cat is just having this exchange with me. I can't even explain it. He's squinting his eyes and he's like, he totally was in Zen when we all were doing that. It's the wildest thing.
Your cat is magic. I mean, it's a whole other level, Lori. Animals are like that, right? They really are. They're transmuters. Oh, hi, Jan. All right. Susan, thank you so much. Oh, and then what I'll do is I mentioned that 103-year-old doctor, Dr. Gladys. I'm going to put that on our page. Is everybody in the Facebook group? Is there anybody that needs me to email them? If you're not in the Facebook group, send me a chat right now and I'll send you that link. It's really lovely to hear her talk about her 5 L's. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. I will stay on a little bit longer just in case you're typing, but we'll end here. Much love. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful afternoon for those of you on the East Coast and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.